Hey, Count Spatch, remember that MVC4Utube guy that can hardly pronounce his own username, let
The
alone speak anything logical?
the one we excommunicated?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, so he's back up to no good again. Another ne'er-do-well act as it pertains to the video game phenomena, and let's address it, shall we?
Okay.
So
Yes.
he makes a video talking about piracy, about PC games, and he spends about 4 minutes telling us that it's only pirating if you don't pay for it, whether it be through a CD key or actually buying a physical copy. Pretty much monetary value exchanging hands at some point. He says if you avoid that, then it's pirating. But legitimately, who in the hell did not know that? That was common sense. And then he even said that what I just said defied the common way of thinking because somewhere down the pipeline, what piracy is got lost in translation somewhere?
It's using something without paying for it.
Exactly, without having any sort of EULA or terms of service. But whatever, we'll give him that. He talked about it for 4 minutes. But then he had the audacity to say the following phrase: "It doesn't matter why you pirate. That's irrelevant. That is completely irrelevant why you pirate."
And that's completely wrong. The reason why people pirate is the most important thing.
For the simple reason that remember Assassin's Creed 2, how it had DRM and the fans had a huge backlash and were like literally going Super Saiyan 4 on the forums because they were a little bit pissed off. They don't like the DRM, right?
Yeah.
And then Assassin's Creed 3, oh look, no DRM because of the fan backlash of its predecessor. It actually can change and sway the opinions and thought processes of a lot of companies for the better, I guess, better overall goal of making money and keeping their fans happy and keep them coming back to enjoy more entertainment from you. But you know how he said that the reason why pirating is irrelevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? You remember how he said that?
Yeah.
Do you know what he did for like the next 2 minutes of the video?
Talk about why it is relevant?
Well, he didn't say why it was relevant. He just went to talk about why him and his friends pirate. Even though he said it was irrelevant, he thinks that I guess when him and his friends do it, all of a sudden it's some grand importance that everyone must hear or unveiled. But maybe I'm just reading too much into that. So let's get down into the meat of his video, shall we?
Yeah.
He says that yeah, if you play a game on the PC, right? It's on the PC, meaning you can play it on desktop, laptop. It's on the PC. If you play a PC game, you need a PC to play it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I don't see how that's any different than any other thing. I mean, you don't see me trying to play an 8-track player on my fucking Xbox. You don't see me trying to play freaking cassette tapes on a VHS player. You don't see me trying to play DVDs on a freaking lunchbox.
We have these platforms for a reason. Standardization.
And if we're going to talk about video game platforms, consoles are very, very, very limited in the fact that you can't play your PlayStation games on your Xbox. Hell, you can hardly play Xbox games on your Xbox 360.
Another thing, like when it comes to like PCs and lots of other consumer electronics, we have choices in like the manufacturer we could get from. Your Xbox is always from Microsoft, your PlayStation is always from Sony, your Wii U is always from Nintendo. You don't have choice in that.
Yeah, and it's pretty limited in these areas, much like how if you want to buy certain parts for your PC, if you're going to build your own, you can go to Walmart, Micro Center, Best Buy. You can go get stuff from Hewitt Packard from the source. You can get stuff from Dell. You can get stuff from anywhere and try to build your own cybernetic happy orgasm all in the PC of your very own personal making.
You
Because it's
have
custom.
choices. You have
Exactly,
options.
which you don't have in the console phenomena. You're probably wondering why the hell we bring that up. It's for the simple reason that PC is a very open platform, meaning I can build my own, I can go from a vendor, pretty much things I've said here. And
Heck, even the way you use it, like your operating system, you got your Windows, you have your Linux, and dozens of different flavors of that Linux.
exactly. Also, I can get different competitors' parts and mesh them together to make whatever I need to make for whatever reasons I need to make it. So then he goes on down the pipeline to say something along the lines of, because it's on the PC, you need a CD key, which is pretty obvious. I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone who didn't wake up yesterday knew this in the gaming phenomena, right?
And even if you don't need a CD key, you still paid for it in some way. in order to get the license to use it.
And then he talked about how if he knew that the Elder Scrolls Skyrim was on Steam, he wouldn't have bought it because apparently, and this is the kicker here, he says Steam is a morally corrupt and dastardly company. It wants to rape and destroy your wallets and ruin your livelihood. It wants to scam its consumers. It wants to put the hurt on the hurt on the hurt on the stank on it when it comes down to your monetary values and your fiscal cliffs.
That sounds painful.
It really does. I mean, it sounds like he's talking about EA, but actually, no, he's coming to the defense of EA by saying that Mr. Steam, good old Steam, tried to stab EA in the back and steal money from EA.
What?
Yeah, you know, the company that won, what was it? Worst company in America 2 years in a row. Remember, EA? Yeah,
Yeah,
they were the ones getting owned this whole time. They're the victims, man.
that sounds like complete crap.
Well, he says that they're victims in the sense that because EA wanted to sell their own games, that Mr. Steam was being a bully and being a jerk and yanking accounts left and right. But then when you actually do research and actually use some common sense and do some digging rather than being an incoherent sheep, you would then realize EA wanted to sell their DLC outside of Steam so they can make a full profit on the DLC, which makes no sense since it circumvents their whole agreement. Think about it here. If you make a game for Steam, the game's for Steam. And if you're going to make DLC, why would you have DLC be sold somewhere else on the horizon rather than where they got the game from? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to talk about convenience here, wouldn't you like it all in one place, especially if you just bought the game while the DLC was already out?
Like, that'd be the same thing for any marketplace. It's like buying something on Xbox, the Xbox Live Marketplace, and then buying it somewhere else.
Oh,
Microsoft's gonna get their cut somewhere.
exactly. And EA wanted their full profits, so really they were trying to take money out of Steam's pocket through their agreement that once you put a game on Steam, the entirety contents of that game needs to be on Steam. And with that said, remember Crysis 2? That was the game that was mainly disputed, and then he went along to say something along the lines of, "That's why you cannot find EA games on Steam right now." Remember that?
There's a good handful of EA games on Steam.
Oh wait, speaking of Crysis 2, the game that we were disputing about, hey, did you know that the Maximum Edition with all the bells and whistles and all the neat little DLC tricks are all fully encompassed on Steam?
Yeah,
Did you also
it's
know
all
that there's
there.
another plethora of games on Steam where it be Need for Speed Shift 2, made by EA, Alice Madness Returns, EA involved, Sims Medieval, hey, that was kind of recent, EA's there too, Dragon's Age, hey, we still got some EA going, Battlefield, really? How are you just gonna skip right over that one, bro? So don't say there are no EA games out there for us to enjoy on Steam. Now you're probably saying to yourself, NPC4Utube, but the new games aren't on Steam. Haha! Well, to be fairly honest, if they didn't like what Steam was doing, although they agreed to it and they were trying to screw Steam, they're not going to want to keep doing business with a company that theoretically, I guess for the sake of the argument, since we're going to put in video game terms, own them, right?
And they're also competitors, simply put.
Yeah, especially since they've got this thing called Origin. I don't know if you've heard of it. I mean, I'm pretty sure you brought it up in your video, Origin. And with that said, that means why would you put it on a competitor? That's like Walmart trying to sell video games over at freaking Best Buy. That's like Best Buy trying to sell games over at freaking Target. It's not gonna work. There's no cross promotion between those companies. They're competitors. That's how they compete. Exclusivity. Much like how you're not gonna see Halo coming on a Sony platform near you. You're not gonna see Mario flipping and flopping and catching fish on Sega Bass Fishing on the Wii U and the Xbox 720. It's not going to happen. That's how competitive nature works. You have your own secrets, you have your own thing. You have your shiny new toy that you try to bring people over. Steam was the juggernaut for a long time, so obviously EA is going to hold their gems to try and pull people from Steam.
Yeah, it all comes down to control and money. Like,
Yeah.
like when you buy SimC, EA is now collecting the complete profit. Let's say they put SimC on Steam, they have to go share it with Steam now.
And that
They're not going to want to do that.
and that would defeat the purpose since, yeah, the agreement that's not really up EA's alley, especially since EA's been making what do you call those things? Oh yeah, they've been making some cutbacks, especially on their staff. So they don't really have the money that they want. So they're not going to want to be splitting any sort of profit. And then he said something along the lines of, companies shouldn't use Steam because when they use Steam, it means that Steam has no affiliation with those games. And if Steam has no affiliation with those games whatsoever, they should not ever be put on Steam. Even though the developers clearly made it Steam compatible. Thus, the developers had Steam in mind, thus meaning Steam does have some sort of affiliation with it, especially since all of these vendors, these big developers have, oh, I don't know, what's the word that you used? Oh, yeah, agreements with Steam to put their games on Steam. The Steam has a direct connotation and agreement with these companies. Thus, yeah, Steam does have some sort of, oh, I don't know, relevance to the conversation.
Heck, this also goes back to customer preference. A lot of gamers, they like Steam. They want it on Steam. A lot of time when games are like PC games are developed, they ask like, "Oh, is this going to be on Steam? Is it Steamworks? What about Steam?" You know,
But he said he didn't like Steam because Steam made his game run badly, and he wishes that his game didn't need Steam. But then within the confines of his video, he said that you don't need Steam because he just said that he ran the game without using Steam, thus defeating the whole argument right there.
and the thing is, here, Steam is a form of DRM. They want to make sure you paid and bought the game before you play it. They need to make their money. They got people. They need to buy food. They need to pay the bills. They need to keep the lights on. They don't want you playing the game for free.
And that's why they run Steam to pretty much check your CD key and make sure all your stuff's ready to go before you go jumping into the firefight.
And it's a sense of convenience as well. Like I have over 100 games on Steam. Do you think I want to have like 100 boxes, 100 CDs, 100 CD keys, 100 manuals for all those games? No, I don't. It's all there on Steam anytime I want it.
Oh, want to go to a friend's house? Don't have to take my computer, don't have to take my games. Just log in with my Steam account. If there's a game that he already has, guess what? I'm playing it. If I want to download it again, I would probably already have it on a flash drive or something for convenience. Pop it in, I'm good to go. Simple. I don't know what's so hard about this concept for you. I really
Like
don't.
seems like he didn't make any good points at all. It's just stuff we already know.
He just talked for 16 minutes.
Piracy is bad, and it's important for the game developers, game publishers to know why people pirate, because then they could try and fix it.
Not to mention, pretty much basically his video could be summed up like this. Steam is bad. EA games cannot be found on Steam. EA is a better company than Steam because Steam is corrupt and they're backstabbers. Steam is a flawed and unstable system. And
You don't own your games?
you don't own your games. You pretty much rent them because the EULA pretty much says that, games can be shut down at any time, which is obvious. Look at as many of the games that have been shut down recently, like, oh, I don't know, the whole Wii Online unit.
You could still use your PC games way longer than you can use any other game. Like those Super Nintendo games, they only work on Super Nintendo. I can't find a Super Nintendo anymore. And some odd years down the line, I'm probably not going to be able to find a Super Nintendo anymore. And they're lost forever. You should be glad that you can get like 20, 30 or more years out of your PC games.
And also, so people can be like, but you can emulate it on the PC. Well, emulating isn't a legitimate copy for Nintendo never sees any monetary value for that, thus making it, oh, I don't know, that P word that was brought up earlier. Sounds
Piracy.
Yeah, but if you already own the copy, it's a backup, which pretty much explains why torrenting isn't illegal and why the Pirate Bay can still run, even though it's not in the US, it could still run without having any sort of obnoxious things going to it, because, torrents are mainly made to back things up.
And yeah, in this case, the Pirate Bay, they don't host any of the content anyway. The users put up that content.
So they'd have to go after the users. So in that case, I think me and Spatch have pretty much wrapped this up and tied in a nice little sexy bow. Any
Hmm.
final words?
No, I think we touched everything. I just I don't know what point he was trying to make. I mean, we already know, yeah, you don't own the game. You have a license to play it. You're not renting it. You don't have to return it. It's not going well, I guess technically I guess it could expire one day, but that's up to the developer or the
Yeah, and so does
service.
milk, but you don't give the milk back, so it's not even renting. You bought it and it ran its course.
Literally.
So yeah, I'm Bucket Man. This is Count Spatch, and I think this video is wrecked out of 10.